Well, I'm finally making what some would say is a half-hearted attempt to learn Visayan. Now, I always say that the trouble with trying to decide which language you're going to learn is a big decision, because if you choose Tagalog, then you may or may not be able to make yourself understood. Like, for instance, Beth's mother, she never uses Tagalog. So if you were to start talking to her in Tagalog, she, along with your bad pronunciation or my bad pronunciation, I probably wouldn't be able to make myself understood. But the advantage with speaking that would be that I would be able to listen to the news and perhaps watch movies that have been translated into, foreign movies like Korean movies, which are very good actually, and then they are translated into Tagalog. Well, that would be an advantage, yes. But I think if I went out into the world, my world as I know it right now, say in Taliban, and tried to start talking Tagalog to everybody, as I said, between my bad pronunciation and everybody really talking in another language, would it be any use to me? Because people here speak Visayan. Well, finally, on one of our trips, can you see this? This actually says English Visayan. Finally, English Visayan dictionary. So I'm actually looking at the words and trying to decide how it should be pronounced. Now, what I've noticed is that when it's several vowel sounds in the word, here they'll put the emphasis on something else. Like, I used to live in Mabalacat, right? That's where, when I first arrived, the first little apartment that I had was in Mabalacat. Mabalacat is Mabalacat. Now, if I were to view that word as if it was English, I would say Mabalacat, but the emphasis is not in that way. So I end up learning it eventually as Mabalacat. So I'm just imagining what a comedy of errors I may be sounding like if I try to look through this this book now of words translated for me. Will I be able to pronounce them so that anybody will understand? Now, I actually I've learned some words in Visayan and a few in Tagalog. So I have a few phrases in Tagalog. Now, here's the thing: if you learn a language from people with a sense of humor and a sense of mischief, they will always teach you the naughty words first, and then sit back and listen with some amusement while you sail forth into the world and try to use them. For a long time, I thought it was okay to say "puta nida mo," and it was only when I got here and started talking, and I mentioned that I did know. Yes, I know some Tagalog. "Puta nida mo," I said, and then it was only then that she said, "No, you don't say that." And apparently, it's not such a great way to go about it. So anyway, I'm looking through now, and apart from Mabalacat, I'm looking at some of the words, and one that I know that really sounds great. It sounds strange because it's the same word with different emphasis, and that is the word cemetery. Well, that's what I would say, and if you're a foreigner looking on, you would say, well, what's wrong with that? Cemetery. But here, it's the same word, spelt the same, but they say cemetery. 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 Well, as a northerner from the north of England, I would say cemetery. Now I'm getting the two mixed up. Cemetery. Cemetery, I would say, not cemetery. But they would say cemetery. So what am I supposed to do? Anyway, look at some of these words, and I thought, well, I haven't been able to find anyone who is willing to sit down and in any orderly kind of fashion teach me how to say and speak Visayan. What they do is, if you say, oh, I would love to learn Visayan, they then bury you in an avalanche of words which are so simple to them because they speak the language, and are just overload for you. You just end up going, and you don't learn anything at all because it's gone. This is very humiliating when it's someone like Lovely, who is 11 years old going on 105, and when she starts to teach you, she actually expects you to remember what she's saying. So she tells me, and then later, what's even more humiliating, she checks me on it. So, Daddy, how do you say motor car? I've no idea. No, that's not how you say motor car, Daddy. And so it goes on. So what you really want is you want someone who has had as much difficulty learning English as you are having learning Visayan. And it just seems like everybody else learns it so quickly, but for an old fart like me sorting through the cotton wool to get anything to stick is another thing. But just as for instance, if you're a foreigner and you have no idea about the language. So as I say, Visayan seems to be the choice because I'd like to be understood, and I would like to be able to understand what is going on, because I guess we've all suffered this, is that you're the outsider. In other words, you don't speak the language, and two people which you are actually directly involved with in one way or another. For instance, if it's Beth and she's talking to someone that we're paying to do something for us, like a plumber or an electrician or any kind of builder, and they're talking away and they're talking back and forth over the problems of work and what's got to be done, and don't forget to miss this bit, and are they going to do that, and have they paid to do this, and and it all goes on, and then you say, excuse me, Bess, can you share some of that with me? And she'll say, he said yes. Now, if you're a foreigner coming over here, first of all, I pity you, of course. That's not true. But you will find this happening. Now, one thing, if you're from England, let's say that you're a Brit, you will not be able to speak as you normally do and be understood, because for one thing, you'll be speaking mostly in colloquialisms. Those are those little sayings that we all have, that even we don't really know what the derivative was. Where did that come from? If my brother was puzzled in any way or was amazed, he wouldn't say, "Wow, I'm amazed." For that case, anyway, what does wow mean? Who made that word wow? So you actually are a huge disadvantage, because he'll say, wow, well, I'll go to the bottom of our stairs. I'll go to the bottom of the stairs. Self-explanatory, isn't it? And if he thought that some guy didn't know what he was talking about, he'd say, he doesn't know what day of the week it is. He doesn't know the day of the week. He doesn't know what day it is. And if I said that to Beth, she'd say, it's Saturday, actually. Didn't you know that? No, I didn't mean that I didn't know what day it is, or he didn't know what day it was. But I can't explain how they came about that. You know, that illustrates confusion. What about America? If you're going to try really, really hard, you say, don't worry, I'll go the whole 9 yards. Now, I know that is derived probably from sport, the last 9 yards or something, but for that matter, what does it mean when they say he's dirt poor? Or when my mother used to say, she used to dismiss someone and she'd say, he's got no arse in his trousers. He's got no arse in his trousers. What does it have to do with anything, whether he's got arse in his trousers or not? So, there's all kinds of things that we have to get used to, which we will be using and don't know that we're using it. I never understood until I came to the Philippines what being dirt poor. What does dirt poor mean? Well, when I started to go around to some of the very poor houses that we helped them to rebuild, I would see that the floor was just dirt. It was hard-packed dirt, which they swept clean. Hence, dirt poor. So there are some things which you would know instinctively, you would be able to find. Well, I didn't know that one instinctively. It was only when I came here. See, so in trying to be understood here, you've got to try to eliminate those things. Now, I don't like really I don't like the idea of being sarcastic, but facetious is another thing, you know. So it's, in other words, facetious is kind of like a dry, humorous way of looking at something, and it goes right over their head. If you were sitting there, for instance, and everybody was getting their food served first, if you were a northerner from the north of England, you might say, will I be getting any food for dinner this time? And if the food had not been put on, you would say, what should I do? Make myself a sandwich? And all of these things would be completely over the head of anybody in the Philippines. I used to say that my idea of hell would be in going down to that dark place and being shown by Satan himself into a large auditorium. And I would be on stage, the mic would be there, and it would be on, and my role would be comedian. And the entire audience are Filipino. Horror of horrors. Now, whenever I try to tell Beth a joke, we'll get to the joke, or actually we'll get halfway through the joke if we're lucky, and she would have already started laughing. Dennis, that's very funny. And I say, I haven't finished. That's not the punchline. Somebody's getting punched? No. In spite of it all, I might continue, and then I get to the punchline. Bang! There it is. Then what? See what I mean? You're a comedian, you have a full audience, but it's Filipino. Horror of horrors. So, let's look at some of these words just to give our Filipino workers and subscribers a laugh. The first one I thought that I might possibly be able to use was abandon. And it says pagbiya or bayaan. Now, they have this quite a lot in Filipino, and that is A followed by A. And I always used to think about the famous movie with John Wayne where it was titled Back to Bataan. And I had to come to the Philippines to find out that it's not Bataan, it's Bataan. But nobody apparently in English land knows that, and they use the word and butcher it in about the same way that I'm going to get my revenge and batter a few words. So, abbreviate, pagmubo. And what's this one? Abate. No, I never use that one. Abdomen. Well, I might possibly use that one. If someone says to me, I see your abdomen is not getting any smaller, and they would say Tian, T-I-Y-A-N, or Tayan. How about, no, not a, oh, here's one, able. And apparently able is more than one word. It's may-a-y, which I think is my katakos. What is it? Oh, it's katakos. And then kalaki. Now, I did learn while I was over in Mabalacat, I did learn, I was in a market with the mechanic, and he told me when someone who was begging, but they were special beggars because they were going around and they had a piece of paper. Well, if a beggar comes around and starts begging and they've got a piece of paper, straight away they have some kind of authority over you, don't they? Because they're looking and they're asking for a donation. You don't know what the hell they're saying, but they've got the paper and they've got the pencil or the pen, and you know that it's got to be about money. So on this particular occasion, because she was official and she had the piece of paper and she was writing on it and she held her hand out, I actually gave her 20 pesos, and she was annoyed and actually held her hand out for more and admonished me. She told me off. Why aren't you, in other words, whatever she was saying, it all boiled down to, why don't you give me more? And that was when my friend educated me on what to say. When people come up and they put their hand out, usually right in your face, you say, walang pera. Walang pera. No, walang pera. And then whatever they say in response, is you repeat it, walang pera. It means no money. That was very useful, and on the occasions when I haven't liked the person, there's been something offensive about the person who is doing the begging, I would say walang pera. So I have learned something, but the other things that I've learned, I learned other phrases which I've now found out are neither Visayan and neither Tagalog. And I found that out because if someone said, oh my gosh, I have such a headache, I'd say masakit kabuntok. And masakit kabuntok is, oh, sore headache? Well, depending how you phrase it. Masakit kabuntok. Nobody in Visayan or speaking Tagalog knows what the heck a kabuntok is. And I found out now that it is, let me see, Kapampangan from Pampanga. How could I know? How could I know? The other one I know, which I now have become totally confused about whether it's, I don't know what the hell it is. It might be Cockney for all I know by now. But it is, let me see, it is, excuse me, and I don't have a glass of water. I have a sore throat. Well, I don't know. I know what masakit kabuntok is, but I haven't got a headache and I don't know what throat means. So I will excuse myself and hope that you will come back and listen again.